two before the one. Wisdom is water, I'm the daughter of the cannon fodder. Applied knowledge and insight, a born scholar. Look like a martyr to marauders, life harder. Wise owl slaughter, whack MCs order applauder. Original woman, decipher the womb. Crown of creation, fruit of the planet, earth and the moon.
Peace, peace, peace. Welcome to another episode of Wise the Dome. Today I have very, very special guest, man. I've been working on this one for a minute. Finally got the times right. Definitely someone who has pioneered being able to put, I would say, in video document, the history of the nation of gods and earths. And it's a beautiful thing, man. And so he's definitely somebody who inspired me to do what I'm doing now. So peace to the God, and Mecca, appreciate you for coming through, God.
Peace, God. Appreciate you having me.
No doubt, God. And so I like to start from the beginning, man. What sparked you on your journey to get knowledge yourself?
It was always, my family. Our family had knowledge. Well, not everybody, because I was raised by a bunch of women. You know what I'm saying? And interesting enough that like the men that came around, they wasn't eating no pork, and that kind of intrigued me. Like, what's that about? You know what I'm saying? And like, I was always somebody who, I listened to my old earth when she was talking about the Bible and all that. And I was just, and she had told me a story about the angels crying, and I took that literally, you know what I'm saying? So when I started like really like looking at things, seeing that was not a reality, more reality-based things like, neighbor brothers kicking the knowledge, I wanted to know what that was, you know what I'm saying? And I can't even, I can't knock, hip-hop at the time too was something that actually, was a vehicle that brought that knowledge to the airwaves, brought it to my attention somewhat, although because I have family members in the, and that has had this knowledge as well. So, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and that around that time, was it especially like in Medina? Was it in New York City? Period. Right? Was it?
Yeah, it was heavy.
Yeah, so it wasn't nothing to come across somebody that had knowledge itself, right?
No, not at all. You know what I'm saying? But see, to be honest with you, I wasn't really looking like that. But the in my home, learning about Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and all that in my home, like I kind of was like interested, like, oh, what's that Malcolm X is talking?
Right.
So when I ran into brothers, instead of having a bow tie, brothers is in rope chains, and you know what I'm saying, they in the fashion of the time, and they kicking this signs. And I like it really was, it was intriguing to me. You know what I'm saying? But there was a lot. It was very fashionable at the time. It was.
And surroundings or evolved with the new technology. Like, what are some of the pros and cons you see of just teaching, I guess, or representing our culture online or using the internet?
Well, one of the pros that I would say is that it travels out faster. Like you get your message out faster. But with it traveling at that speed, not everybody's getting it right. You know what I'm saying? People are putting it everywhere on the internet, and some people may have a halfway understanding of what it's about. So, I mean, also living in the commercial world, I see that, there's a lot of appropriating of the culture, meaning like they take some of the things that's being said and they make it real fashionable, or they make it into something to try to make some money.
Right.
So you can kind of start seeing people who want to use this as a way to make money. You can see that they don't even know much about the culture. A lot of times, you get people on like the Walmart sites or Amazon trying to buy universal flags.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So so I would say the pros of it being online is that it travels. It could get to a lot more people a lot more faster. But The cons of it is that not everybody is really, really knows what it's really about.
Yeah.
And they may have an idea, or they may see a little bit of it, but they don't. Because this is something that you got to really take your time to study.
Right. And
it's not gonna happen overnight.
No, definitely. Understanding definitely does not come overnight. And I wanted to ask you, like, do you think that regardless whether it's somebody wanting to study the culture of the 5%, or whether it was some other said nation, right? Do you think the fact that we have so much access to information, like at the like, we can just pick up our phone, like, and compared to at one time, people had to go to libraries, they had to build amongst people who knew, they had to really, focus in on what they were studying. Do you think our access to info, because I was thinking, like, all right, so I was talking to one of the gods about this the other day, and about having 120 before the age of the internet, right? Is something where, this is what you had. You wasn't going to get it from nobody, like you weren't there wasn't no internet for you to get it from without, somebody walking you through it or teaching you. Now, like I said, we have access to information, like, where you really have to have a certain level of discernment, right, in order to navigate it correctly. Do you think the fact that we have so much access to information, whether it's information or misinformation, that a lot of young people coming up wanting to find knowledge itself are having a hard time because it's like they're not even sure what to believe at this point?
Well, yeah, I think that there's a level of unappreciated. If you don't travel or work hard for it, and it's just given to you right then and there, like, what kind of appreciation are you showing for it? You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
you could turn on your phone and look at some lessons, and then hop right over to another social media message and just get lost in it. You know what I'm saying? And not even really remember it.
Right.
This is always right there at your fingertips. So, that's one of the things that I see, and nowadays, that there's not a much appreciation for it, because it's so readily available to you. You know what I'm saying? Not just only in on the social media sites, but just it's everywhere. It's everywhere. So that you don't have you're not appreciative of what you have, because you just pick up your phone. So
no, I agree. I see, and that was kind of my thought. So yeah, this is something definitely I wanna get into. The work that you do with video documenting our history, since you've been doing it. First off, how long have you been doing it?
Now, I officially started Show and Prove 2014.
Wow. All right. So what made, like, what determined idea did you have, or did it just come from, I'm gonna take my camera to the school, or take the camera to go see one of my air lights and just record? Or did you have a determined idea of what you were going to do, and why was it important for you to do this?
Well, that's a great question. I was just looking at the time. The internet was full blown. 2014, internet's full blown, but you're seeing so much information that's all over the place. So there were some Muslims that were online, claiming to know something about us, right? And they were putting out the information. There were different Christians, or people of different said nations, that were speaking on this culture. And I knew for somebody being a citizen of the culture from 1994, that some of these things weren't right, And I also thought that, a law school in Mecca is an institution, right? And it being an institution, it should there should be something that is, we should have an online presence, and we should have a way for people across the country to act. So my idea was building a media team. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had built some YouTube channels before for a couple other people, like like I was working close with the Source magazine at one time, and so I was seeing that these different so-called institutions had a YouTube channel or online presence, and I thought that we should have an online presence. So the idea was okay, there's a law school in Mecca. There's also a law school in Medina. You know what I'm saying? And there's a law school in different cities.
Right.
And so I would start with a law school in Mecca. That's where I got the knowledge from, is where I officially started walking through 120. Right. So I figured, let me bring it back there, and also because I started in 2014, but being that I was there from 1994, there was a lot of giants that were around in 1994 that I'm like, yo, and I had my grandmother's camera, and I'm like, yo, I think I should film some of this.
Right.
But my mindset at the time was like, I'll catch it another time, or I'll see that God later. And come to find out, or later on,
right,
that God was never to be seen ever again.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And there's been many examples of that. You know what I'm saying? And I've been doing this camera thing for years, months, and days before I started doing it for the nation.
Okay.
But I thought that the nation, as a skill in the trade, because this is a skill that I developed,
right,
so that now I could do trading amongst the people, and so now I think I take my skill in my trade and I bring it back to the nation.
Indeed.
You know what I'm saying? So that's been my journey in terms of why I started wanting to do it for the nation.
Yeah, no, and it's dope, man. It's a beautiful thing. I definitely been tuned in since the beginning. With knowing, and you kind of alluded to it. Over the past 3 or 4 years, we've lost a lot of gods and earths to various different things, and you have interviews with a lot of them.
Right.
How important is that, and what does that mean to you as somebody that is able to do this for the nation, and not just the nation, for the world, right? Because I'm pretty sure everybody that watches might not necessarily be a 5%er, but they take something away positively that they can add on to their own lives. And seeing some of the great gods and earths that you have able to interview who are no longer here, like, do you ever reflect on that and just kind of realize how important that work like truly is?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Like I come through the line of First More Prince. Like I said, that was the person that I would see all the time and at the school, and say, like, I would think to myself, let me just get him on camera. And then, a time came where, he was no longer available.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, I've always saw the importance of documenting our nation. A brother once asked me, did I know the difference, or what is the difference between the royal families and the average person, right? Like, you talk about the royal monarchs and whatnot. And I was just like, well, okay, what is the difference? And he said, that they know their history. You see what I'm saying? And that right there is just really like, think about, like I said, the average person, we may be able to trace back our lineage, maybe a couple of generations. But here is like these monarch families could trace back their lineage centuries.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We may be able to make it to maybe 1800 something at times. You know what I'm saying? If that, you know what I'm saying? Whereas these people are going back to,
yeah, we barely can make it back to 1800s. You know what I'm saying?
Barely, right? So I just thought that it's important to document our and then also with the size of public the way public schools and public libraries, public anything, like they are it seems to be getting more and more infested with all these different ideas that are contrary to our culture.
Right.
So I didn't want to just leave that in and NBC's or ABC, CBS's hands,
Yeah,
or PBS's hands. I don't want to leave it in their hands. Like, no, it's actually important for us to document our own history. So, being that this was a skill in the trade of mine, that I was traveling, I was already shooting videos, already making music. I was ready. This was something that it just seemed like it was a natural fit. And as a nation, I always thought that it was important that we have something like this to communicate with each other, to document our own history. And you know what I mean?
Yeah, facts, God. We definitely appreciate that, man, because like we're able to see gods from all over the country, you know what I'm saying, and see what's going on in their ciphers, and it's a way to connect people within the nation, and obviously a way for people to learn and gain something for their own lives. I know I have gotten people that like online, you might be online or something, and people will be interested in knowing more about the 5%, right? And I've had instances to where there's like, yo, God, I had ordered this book on it. Yo, is this book any good? And it's like a book from like Michael Muhammad Knight or something, right? And like they don't know, you know what I'm saying? Like the person that, like, if you're not a part of the culture, you know what I'm saying, you might not know what that's on. But what's your thoughts on, you kind of mentioned it, like you don't want to leave it up to ABC, CBS, and all of these people's hands to video document our history. What do you think about, some of these books that are written about us from people that are outside of the community?
Well, it's interesting because a lot of these people, what are their reasoning? A lot of times I'm looking at what are their reason for it. Like the Michael Muhammad Knight, like, he got some things wrong, but then he got some things right. And I think there's some people that are attracted to it. But see, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that people, have their experiences, and that they're gonna, it's well within their rights to express their experience, how they see it. You know what I'm saying? So someone like a Michael Muhammad Knight, or even like a Wakil, or somebody like you're not actually of this culture, but you have come in contact with it, so you have a right to actually speak on and speak it from your perspective. It's share it as genuinely as possible.
Right.
But I think that that's why it's if not more important for us to do the same thing.
Yeah.
To write our own, to write our what is it, that so that you can counterbalance some of those things to people who are not. Like, for instance, like I entertained sometimes by like BMF or Raising Canaan, and like the 50 Cent shows, and they have a lot of the language in there, but it's as it coming from a counterculture point of view.
Right.
So but I'm not mad at it. I just think that just tells us that it's equally important for us to do it for ourselves.
Indeed, most definitely, God. And I just recently started watching the WuTang show about a couple of weeks ago. I started from season 1 because I got on it late. I wasn't going to watch it, right? But then I started watching it, and I ended up thinking it's pretty dope. But why do you think that they didn't use our flag in the show? Like, what do you think that was about?
Well, that's interesting, because I built with Freedom about that, and I think he was just paying homage to, like, and then but at the same time didn't want to because that flag is your flag and it's my flag, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if a corporation is using it in a way that we don't see fit,
right,
we are all within that right to, you know, put a stop to it. So I think RZA and his team or the people of, you know, who are actually running that show were like, you know, we don't want to have to answer to a whole bunch of people. So, you know, you just told it in their way. And as I look at it, you know, I think it's cool too, but, you know, I also know that it's not, being that it's not, I'm not a part of the demographics that they're aiming for.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little bit more, I can enjoy it more because I know that, look, that's not really for me. Like I was there for certain things.
Right,
So I know that it didn't go down like that.
Right.
But also knowing that this,
like it has to be dramatized some, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But knowing that it's not catered towards someone like me because I was there,
Mm-hmm.
or somebody who might be a little bit more like literal, like expect a literal expression of it. And like, oh, because it's not fun. But once I get past that, it's pretty dope.
Yeah, I think that's what why it took me a while to, you know, start watching in the first place. And you know, you kind of alluded to your background in music. I didn't know you worked for Bad Boy at one time.
Yeah.
What was that experience like? And you know, just if you can run down some of that history.
Well, that comes from working with the camera. You know what I'm saying? You know, I really started making beats with my mother's old records and stuff. You know, my Brown C, you know, CI guard, he put me on to doing loop tapes and whatnot. And I had my grandmother's camera in the house, and you know, that became like a part of my upbringing and whatnot. So fast forward later on, I mean, there's just so many different twists and turns on how I got there. But I was working with some film. I was working with a film company called Mad Soul, and my boy World was like kind of like the next man in charge. Like he wasn't the owner of it, but he was the man that was. And somebody came in there. A film director came in there, and he gave him my DVDs. At the time, it was my DVD. I had some DVDs, and the guy liked it, and he was like, "Yo, I'm gonna put you with my other production team." Got this production team, and this production team, you know, they were like a team of white guys.
Right.
They get hollered at by Bad Boy to help them do behind the scenes for I want to say it was Press Play.
Okay.
Like it was Press Play, right? That the album that Puff was doing behind the scenes.
Right.
And they were being that they were a team of white boys, they didn't really know how to approach that. So they gave it to me. They were like, "Yo, you run that."
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so I did that, and I you know, did the behind the scenes. I started building a relationship with Puff, and yeah, that's that.
Yeah, God. I mean, you downplaying it some, but nah, that's big. You know what I'm saying?
It was interesting because the white boys, they actually got fired. They got fired.
Oh, shit. Wow.
Puff fired them. And I thought I got fired with them, but Puff came to me, he was like, "Yo, listen, yo, work with me directly." And I didn't want to cut their throat like that, but it was like, I mean, look, like, all right, go ahead, go for it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it was pretty dope. It was pretty like, you know, there's a lot of things that they say about Puff I didn't get to experience. You know, that wasn't my experience.
Yeah.
Other than he's a shrewd businessman.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But there's some other things that's in the atmosphere that I wouldn't verify.
Yeah, for sure, God. And you also make beats, right? When were you able to start? And you said you were making loop tapes, and when were you able to start, like, you know, getting your beats out there and having MCs, you know, spit over?
That's always been a part of it. You know what I'm saying? See, it's interesting now. Like the music industry now it has become a lot more localized. Like cats are just local, and I've always been that way. I've always been like a producer, like, you know, and people would hear my beats starting on loop tapes and then to like CDs, and I started like growing more like, MCs around the neighborhood would see, what I was doing or hear what I was doing and want to be a part of that. So um, I've always used my art to kind of, make my way around the world. You know what I'm saying, to kind of get, so me, I would press up a bunch of songs that I've done with some local artists.
Mhm.
Now the word has traveled. Oh, F do beats, and yeah, you know what I mean. But somebody who I work with, close, kind of helped get my name out a little bit was a Law Praying. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
and I was like
no,
later on.
that's
I was
no
later on
doubt.
after doing the channel and everything.
Mhm.
Like I shot a few videos and
Yeah,
it
because
just
he got
circulated.
there's a couple of La Prime videos on the channel, right?
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, peace out, God, man. Yeah, I've had him on the show, man. He makes great music, man. That's kind of leading into the question I wanted to ask you now. Like, when we grew up, obviously we had groups like, Poor Righteous Teachers. We had, Brand Nubian. You know, then later on you have WuTang and a lot of people, whether they even not necessarily of the culture, influenced by it. You know what I mean? And so they knew a lot of our language, um, and I think that was attractive to people, especially the youth, right? Like, and so it kind of opened them up for whenever they heard it in real time. It's like, oh, yo, that's what such and such was talking about. Okay, well, I'm kind of interested, right? Now, and we because we know historically, like especially in the golden era. I mean, Rakim, Big Daddy Kane, what the 5% meant to hip hop, right? And from the science of spitting in a cipher or the b-boy stance, saying peace on the record. The influence was huge, right? Do you think that it can or it will ever get back there?
So to get back there is, well, in short, no,
Mhm.
not back there in that space. But I
Mhm.
think that we've grown to another level, whereas and the fact that the music industry is collapsing is the grassroots is taking shape a lot
Mhm.
more now, being
Mhm.
that the big corporations are not seeing the benefit of doing it the way they were.
Right.
Um, uh, uh, but I think that there is an opportunity for us to make something brand new.
Mhm.
So, we have a lot of what we've done. In my eyes, I think we sold it out. It's
Hmm.
almost like we
Why you say
sold it
that?
out. I just let it go. Well, there's a bill that I always I manifest in terms of you think of like Barry Gordy sold uh, Motown for multiple multi-million, a lot of money, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Millions and millions and millions of dollars. Same thing with Bob Johnson and BT. Same thing
Mhm.
with Russell Simmons. Like, and a lot of those were, coaching, and we sold it to corporate America,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
But now corporate America has turned that against us and
Mhm.
weaponized it
Right.
against us. You know what I'm saying? So it's almost like, all right, now that that's weaponized and we know what that is, matter of fact, keep that over there.
Mhm.
And we got to reimagine and rebuild and recreate what what we have over here. You see what I'm saying?
Have you seen lately though? A lot of artists in the hip hop and R&B space has been selling their masters back for like hundreds
Selling
of
their
millions of dollars.
catalog.
What
And
what you what
that's
you think about that, God? Like, is
I think that's speaking to my point of like we're selling it, we're selling our culture out for a bag.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And a lot of times we don't even know the implications of that.
Right.
Like just thinking about political power, right? Now, I like to listen to Dr. Claude Anderson, and he talks about like group economics and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine BET, Def Jam, Motown coming together, and we still own that, right?
Right.
And we own it. What kind of platforms will we have with that in our pocket,
Right.
in our ownership? But the
Right.
fact that we don't own it, you know what I'm saying? Now that kind of, so the same thing with people selling their catalogs. Like now you don't own it. Like you think that you could get more? You could do that all over again. Like you could just start from scratch,
right?
Because you got a couple of $100 million, and that's what a lot of times all that matters is this couple of $1 million. Like
that's what it seems like because they don't really care the fact that now they can use that song or music that you sold for anything that you want, and it might not represent you whatsoever. You know what I'm saying?
Right. But you did it for that couple of $100 million. Like, what does it mean? It doesn't mean anything. Like a couple of $100 million is not going to equate to, the leverage that something like that has.
Mm-hmm.
But you think that, okay, I could get that, $100 million is going to take me, I don't know, maybe 20 years to reach that if it was in my own estate.
Right.
But at the same time, but what kind of political moves can you make with that? You see what I'm saying? Like, what can you do? And then with inflation, like next year, the inflation, it could, that $100 million could be only worth like $20 million.
Facts.
You see what I'm saying? So, it's the same idea that I look at, with reparations. People like, yo, just give me the check. But they could give you $1 trillion check and then turn around and inflate the American dollar. Now that trillions of dollars is only worth $1 billion.
Right.
Maybe $1 million. You know what I'm saying? Like
my thing with that, and I'm not saying because I'm not anti-reparations or anything like that, of course.
Neither am I.
We are owed something. But it seems I think sometimes people feel like, okay, we get this check, now we're even. And it's not that for me.
No,
it don't work like that for me. You know what I'm saying?
And that's what I'm saying. Like at the end of the day, really, I would like to see us own Michael Jackson's catalog.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like us. When I say us, I'm talking about just original people, right? I would like to see us own our stuff, like own the catalog of Def Jam.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't own that. That's corporate America now, and corporate America, as we know, is not of our culture, right? It's not our culture. So they're gonna do whatever they want to do with it, and it's not gonna be in our interest. So that's why to bring it full circle. That's why I do what I do, so that I want to retain. I want us to have ownership of what we produce.
Yeah, indeed.
That's important.
Do you ever think that stand on music for a second? I saw a clip where Wise Intelligent was at some conference or something. It was back in the day, right? And he was talking about how, labels were telling him then, back in the day, kind of telling, certain artists that they couldn't rap about certain things, right? And pushing the more, I guess, the negative aspect of street life or black life. You know what I'm saying? Do you think that it really was a concerted effort to, we had obviously the groups I named earlier. We had Public Enemy, X-Clan. We had a lot of, that was heavy, right? Even if you wasn't a conscious rapper, in a lot of cases, like you were still wise to the game to the point where, you know, it would come out in your music some, right? Do you think that there was a concerted effort by the labels? Oh yeah, because here's the example that he said. He talked about Young Buck from G Unit. On his first album, had a song where he was talking about shooting back at the laws, right? And the label told him he can't have that on there. But obviously he had 15 other songs about killing niggas. You know what I'm saying? So with that said, do you think it has been a concerted effort to lead hip hop in a totally different direction from knowledge of self and consciousness?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. You know, and it goes right back to, you know, what I was saying in terms of we have sold our culture so much. Like, you're selling it to someone and you're giving them carte blanche, giving them, like, just do what you want. Like, okay, I got the millions of dollars I got it, basically. And they come to you like, basically, no, we're going to buy this from you and we're going to do what we want to do with it. Right. So yeah, like, of course it was a concerted effort. I think that, you know, and now that it's in their hands, they're doing what they want to do with it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And they're doing to the point where, all right, well, you can't say this on my platform, you know, whether it be your YouTube, your Zoom, your whatever platform it is, you can't say whatever you want to say. You can't do whatever because it's on my platform. I just gave you,
right,
and you signed away.
Right.
You signed it away, like, you know, like it's no longer yours. So you don't have you don't have the support to really come and say, I don't like that you did whatever you're doing with my music, with my material, with my art. I don't like it.
Right.
Who cares? We just bought it from you.
We just bought it, right?
We bought it from you. Like, so that's it. And I think that's why it is where it is, because we actually sold it out.
Yeah.
We did that. That's not nobody else's fault but us.
Right. Now at this point though, it's like, what's the end game? You know what I'm saying? Like, because we constantly doing the same thing, selling our power, you know, to the labels, or, you know, it even happens in, you know, television and movies. You know, somehow we find a way to, you know, acquiesce to what the big people want, and regardless of the imagery that it's putting out. Do you see us like ever getting that control back? You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's what I say. Going back,
yeah, that might be, yeah.
That's the wrong. That's what I'm saying is the wrong approach. Like, to think like we're gonna go back there and you know, have what we should have. No, I think that we are such creative and resourceful people that we could create something like what you're doing here with your show, right? You just be sure. Don't sell yourself short, man. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like, I could see like a Universal, somebody came and was like, yo, we love your show. We want to buy, we want to fund you, we want to give you, and you're hungry. I see that, but at the same time, you know, knowing beforehand that you got something.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And and what you're doing is an important work. And maybe you may not get $100 million for it right in one swoop. But the fact that of what you can do with it, you might make 20 million your whole lifespan, maybe, right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? As opposed to 200 million or 2 billion or whatever. But the fact that you have this and you have this ownership of something that you created, that's worth so much more than just, you know.
Yeah, the maker and the owner. You know what I'm saying?
That's the bottom line, being a maker and owner. And that's what I'm seeing all across the board, is that we make it, and
we don't
own it. We don't. And actually, a lot of times we're giving it up.
Right.
I'm saying it's not like it's being stolen from us. And it's actually, no, we're okay. So you might look at your career and you say like, oh, I can make $20 million, or they're offering me $100 million. Take it all.
Right. So let me ask you this, God, because so if you, whether it's the music, it could be hip hop or R&B, right, or movies that are directed to Black audiences, or even commercials that are directed to Black demographics. Everything is get the bag, get the bag, get the bag, money, 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 money. Obviously, we need money to, secure our food, clothing, and shelter, and a future for our children and families and things of that nature. I'm not saying that money isn't important, but do you think as a culture we place an overemphasis on money and quote unquote get into the bag?
Yes. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't think that we even understand money. You know what I'm saying? So it just goes back to that idea of, somebody give you $1 trillion in reparations, but then tomorrow that $1 trillion is inflated to the point where it's really only worth. I mean, we know it. United States, there is no money.
Right.
Really is no money. Like that's monopoly money. You know what I'm saying? It's not even backed by no gold or anything. So
straight fiat.
So right, fiat. So you get this $100 trillion. Let's throw that number, $100 trillion, and you think you made it, and then turn around. Now that 100 trillion is really worth 100 billion or 100 million. You see what I'm saying? Because we don't understand money. We don't understand energy. We don't understand being the maker and owner of these things. So that's why I can see why these artists are actually selling themselves out. You know what I'm saying? Because they think they thinking like, again, $20 million. I'm only making, let's say maybe $20 million across my whole career. But if I sell it, I could get 200 million. I could get this, and okay, I see the logic right then and there, but you don't see the actual weight of what you're doing. Again, bring it back to Def Jam and Motown and BET. If we was able to hold them down, like for ownership of it, what can we say? What kind of voice can we have with that kind of resource behind us?
Oh man, that's real, because like BET, for instance, I remember growing up, right? They would have shows about like HBCUs, Team Summit. We had Rap City, which was a real hip hop show. You know what I'm saying?
A real institution for us.
Yeah, a real institution for us, right? And matter of fact, they used to even show HBCU football games. It was just like it was really a Black channel, right? That kind of highlighted a lot of the Black experience. As soon as Viacom got it, it was like take off all the music, and now straight reality TV shows. You know what I'm saying?
That's why I said that was deliberate.
Right.
Viacom is not us.
Right.
It's not headed by us.
Right.
So their cultural ideas don't reflect our cultural ideas.
Not at all.
But the bag is still available because they have the bag. They got and so they can just give it to you and you feel like, oh, I made it.
Right. And that's the thing. Like I was talking about that with somebody else. It was a while back. But that was the topic of conversation, was when we have these, people like Bob Johnson who create these institutions. Obviously, we don't have the ability or right to tell anybody else what to do with something that they created. But it would be nice to see them create it and own it and keep it, employ other original people, use that as a springboard to launch the careers of other Black people, keep it Black, keep the integrity. But it seems like it's really that's really rare these days, because that bag that they get offered is something that's hard to refuse. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the type of money where they kids ain't never gonna have to work again. You know?
You know that getting offered the money. I mean, I can't knock anybody because, like, again, like, you know, money is a symbol of, in many people's eyes, it's a symbol of success. It's a symbol of I got something, right? But you don't really know, or you don't. A lot of us don't realize what we have created is also a form of money, right? Or that's the bag itself. But so now you want to trade it for these Federal Reserve notes, right? That's not even worth anything.
Right.
What it's really worth is what we say is worth.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And what the people actually across the world believe. Okay, now we believe you. Right? But we don't have that same trust with to say, like, all right, well, I just made, you know, a catalog of music or a catalog of art. And okay, yeah, these people may be saying that it's worth $1 million now, but I know in a year, 2 years from now, it's worth $1 billion.
Hey, I heard Master P say that one time. He said, "Man, if them white folks offer you 5, you must be worth 50." You know what I'm saying?
Right. But we don't understand money. We don't understand trust. We don't understand currency. You know what I'm saying? We don't understand these things. So these things get you know, slip through our hands. Same thing with like on the continent. Like the continent has so much resources, but the original people there don't know how to really process it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like they may pick up some diamonds and like, what is it? Then we look at it like, I don't know what it is. These colonizers like, yeah, I know exactly what to do with that.
Right.
Give me that. I might even chop your hand off of that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, we just got to learn more so about what we produce, us.
Yeah.
The power of what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like what we produce is, yeah, that's what they want. That's what they, you know what I mean? But we sell it short. We're sold short because, you know, they're like, you know, you want food, clothing, and shelter, right?
Right.
And a lot of times they you know, they got us by, you know, it's crazy the way they got us. You know what I'm saying? You know, with the idea of food, clothing, and shelter when we could actually really produce our own.
Yeah, facts, most definitely. I was looking at something. Actually, I've had you know, brothers and sisters on the show from different walks of life, and for the most part, most of the said nations that you know, whenever I have interviewed these brothers and sisters, they talk about the importance of having a teacher, right? And our culture, it's the same. Obviously, you know, we have an enlightenment or educator. With everything being on the internet, you know, easily accessible, for those that may not know, why is it important for someone who is, you know, wanting to live this way of life to have an educator?
An educator is paramount. You know, someone who has walked this way of life and upholds this way of life. That's important. You know, somebody who doesn't know, just simply doesn't know. You know, getting this knowledge is, you know, having the knowledge is not enough. Like we know that there's 9 principles to mathematics. So just knowledge alone, that's not enough. You gotta know how to activate it. You gotta know how to draw it up and see it for what it is, not for what it appears to be. You know what I'm saying? You gotta live it out. You know what I'm saying? You gotta exercise it and share it and show how does it relate to you. And you build it and you know, complete it and bring it all the way back to the foundation, the knowledge, right? So there's so many different things. So you know, a lot of people just want to know,
right?
But they don't want to live it out. They don't want to exercise it. They just want to know. So that's where you know, a lot of times the internet, you just want to know. There you go. But it ain't gonna mean nothing if you don't know how to apply it.
Right.
So having an educator shows you how to apply it, and also how to preserve some cultural tenets that may not be, so prevalent in today's. You know what I mean? Like, so having an educator is one of the most important things of this culture.
Indeed. I've met certain people. I've seen certain people online say, like, they don't need one or whatever, and they're usually like extremely loud and wrong about a lot of shit, right? You know what I'm saying? It just goes to show, like, you have to be able to have that. First off, you have to have somebody to build with, somebody to, bounce your thoughts and your ideas off of, and they'll tell, hey, no, that's not it, or you might be onto something right there, right? Like, iron sharpens iron, man. Just memorizing the lessons on your own. I mean, obviously, that's a great feat in being able to, retain information. But like you said, you have to be able to, in order to live it, right? You have to see someone in real time live it, right? I was reading something. It was like Lao Tzu. I was reading it today, and in it he was like sometimes it's hard to speak about the path. The best way to know the path is to walk the path. You know what I'm saying? The path is revealed through action, not necessarily through what you say. You know what I'm saying? It's going towards the future. Things change, obviously. Where do you see, like, just going into the future, where do you see, like, the state of the 5%, and just like, what does our future look like from your
Well, I mean, I just see us really got to get back to the grassroots of things. You know what I'm saying? The relationships with each other. So that's what we gotta get back. I mean, the internet has, it's a great tool. It's a beautiful tool, but we got to get back to our relationships with each other. You know what I'm saying? One of the things that I see that people not getting online is the actual culture of it, right? Like, being able to live it out. Like, it's one thing. Like I said, it's one thing to know, but then you gotta go through the steps. You gotta go through the steps and actually start living it, right? Right, and knowing is, like I say, knowing is not enough. Knowing is important. Is the foundation. So, I see our nation is like getting back to the foundation. A lot of times, interesting, not as interesting is that our parliaments is not as packed as we would have liked to see them. But I was taught, like, when the world ends, who's going to start it all over, right? Right. It would have to be the person who's there, right? So if you're there, then you start all over. And how you going to start over? You start with the foundation yourself, and you multiply yourself, right? So that's where I could see where we at as a nation, is that there's a lot of building, and there's a lot of rebuilding. You see what I'm saying? And all these different obstacles that we may encounter, like in terms of, like, internet. The internet can be an obstacle, right? Because somebody thinks that they know it, or they don't need an educator because they have the internet. Right. Well, here we are on the internet saying that you need to walk and talk with an educator. Right. That's very important. You know what I'm saying? And this is not an internet culture. This is not a hip hop culture. This is something deeper. Those things.
It's like trying to teach yourself martial arts without a sifu. You can practice some kicks and punches, but you're not get it without it.
Right. You need somebody to kind of go back and forth with, right? And but that's why I see our culture is that taking it back to the foundation. You know what I'm saying? And realizing some of the things that we, because one of the things that people miss you know, by not getting the culture, this is a family sign. So you think
Yeah.
you memorize all these lessons in your head, but you didn't even get the idea of being a family.
Right.
You missed that aspect of it.
Right.
So you come around and you start quoting it, and well, hold up, man. Do you even know what you're talking about?
Right.
Do you even know what that mean? What some of those things mean in this body of people?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Let alone going over. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
you gotta learn what does it mean to us? You just taking these words. What value system are you on? So that's what I'm saying. Like I see us as a culture is getting back to the foundation.
Indeed.
You know and having discussions like this.
Yeah, most definitely. Like you said, families, that's a big part of it, man. You know what I'm saying? I think that part is what attracts a lot of youth. You know what I'm saying? It's what attracted a matter of fact. I mean, obviously, you know, like a lot of in the early histories of the father, whenever he left the mosque, you know what I mean? A lot of those youth didn't have fathers or anything like that. And I'm pretty sure that camaraderie that they began to build with each other was a huge part of the magnetic that go along with these teachings, right? Kind of want to ask you this. This is the last question I got for you, God. Once again, I definitely appreciate you for coming through. I've, you know, you see a lot of discourse on the term Muslim God, right? And I've seen things where they have attributed certain things that are like the history of the 5%, and they'll attribute it to the Nation of Islam, right? Now, I have a lot of friends that are in the Nation of Islam. At the same time, the history of the 5% is the history of the 5%, and the history of the Nation of Islam is the history of the Nation of Islam. What are your thoughts when you see some attempt to conflate the two histories as if they are one?
The piece with the magnetics attracts the piece without. I mean, that's the best way that I could see it. That, you know, brothers, you know, want to borrow that magnetic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying, because we've had magnetic, and you know, we have been. And the son that born king said, you know, said we have been like the foundation of youth movement.
Mm.
You know, and with that, you know, of course, you know, you want to take ownership of that.
Yeah.
You know, so and I could see like a lot of brothers, you know, from other set nations, like no, don't cap.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be out here capping. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, put in your work, and that's that. And we can add on somewhere, you know, and you know, in some way, shape, or form, we can add on, like, and you can learn about some of this magnetic and perhaps manifest some of it for yourself. But yeah, there's a lot of said nations, you know, like, you know, that are capping, like, you know, they want to say that, you know, Noble Drew Ali came before Fard, and they want to talk about
I saw that
Fard.
too.
They want to talk about, like, you know, how if it wasn't for Fard, then there'd be no Elijah, there'd be no Allah, like, you know, like. But at the end of the day, man, you know, for this nation, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, a man built the nation and dedicated it to the babies.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So
and nobody did it like that before. You know what I'm saying?
Nobody's done it like that. So, you know, I understand why, you know, some people might want to cap, but capping is not the way to go.
Nah.
That's not the way.
Got to be original, man.
Got to be original, man. That's where I'm getting at. Let's be, you know, be original. Be who you.
Because honestly, God, because if everybody was, I mean, well, there's things that we would be able to learn from each other. You know what I'm saying? As far as just from their experience, you know what I'm saying? But either way, God, I wanted to tell you, man, just for the work that you do, you know what I'm saying, to document a lot of our nation's events and our history and the great people that you interview. It was, an honor for me to be on. And I appreciate you, God, for coming through. I think this was an important interview because, more of us need to occupy these spaces. You know what I'm saying? Like to the point where shit, we have our own 5%, channel on cable TV or something. You know what I mean?
That was a part of the determined idea. You know what I'm saying? Like, so if I sparked this, and someone like you came on and you started doing your thing,
right?
Like that's all a part of the determined idea.
No doubt, God. No doubt, God. And everybody should know, but if they don't know, I'm gonna have the link in the description. Let everybody know what the name of the YouTube channel is.
It's a law school in Mecca. Is named after our national headquarters, our law school in Mecca. So and you can just put it in the search.
And for those that just now getting familiar with you, if they want to follow you on social media, how do they do that?
I'm on everything Mecca, INFMEGA.
No doubt.
You can find me on IG. You can find me on Facebook. I'm even on. I even have my own channel on YouTube as well. But I've been curating the law school in Mecca.
The other channels, a lot of your music, right?
Yeah, I do a lot of music stuff, or stuff that's not necessarily 5% related.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, peace to the God. Until next time, you know what I'm saying? Be easy. I know we'll build soon, though.
I appreciate you, God. I appreciate you having me on, God.
No doubt, God. Peace.
Peace to the God.